Hey guys, so now let's see what happens when you run it from assistant. Okay, so UiPath Assistant, you have already should be aware of UiPath Assistant. So when you run a process from UiPath Assistant, what happens in terms of logs? Before we get on to that, let me ask you one question. Let's say I'm going to run a process. Okay, I'm going to run a process from the studio. From the studio, I'm going to run a process. Now, if I run a process from studio, does the logs also get captured in the orchestrator? So locally we have seen it in the previous video. Does it get captured also in the orchestrator? Answer is yes, it also get captured in the orchestrator. Where do you find that? So first of all, you see where your studio is connected. So for me it is connected to IT folder. So what I should do, I should go to the IT folder and then hit on the process of the IT folder, and here I should find something called logs. Okay, so last time when I run it, you can see because in my UiPath Studio it was enabled log activities, which is a verbose level. That's why you can see everything got captured here in the orchestrator. So this settings, remember, people get confused. Very important point. See the execution, executing. Okay, let me see where it started. Okay, here it started. Automate with Rakesh execution started. Then it has got message box, assign activity, sequence closed, and all that. Okay, so here assign activity. If I have to see what is there in the assign executing, you can see all the different information that is required has been captured. Activity info. It was a assign activity object. Okay, so there is a log also being sent to orchestrator apart from locally, because you are running it in the attended UiPath Studio license. So your logs are also captured in the orchestrator. Is it clear? Fine. Now the very important point, people will get confused. What they will confused on, if you hit on this preferences, right? If you hit on this preferences, there are set of options here, so people will be confused. For example, I'll show you that how people will be confused. So if I go to preferences and click on orchestrator settings, and let's say here the log label is off for me, even though it is off, it was still sending. So remember, your why, even though it is off, it was still sending to orchestrator. That is where people will be confused. Let me tell you, your studio, when you log it, there are two different log labels. By default it is trace, you can't turn it off, so it is trace, and then the other one is verbose. These are the two logs will definitely will be set. So this is predominantly, right, dominated by these two options that you enable on the studio, the log activities, or you disable it. So trace will go if you enable it, verbose will go. Okay, for example, I disabled it. Now if I run it, okay, anyways the local file will also get updated. At the same time, just look at it, what was the last time of execution ended at 11:43:37 am. Okay, 11:43:37 am of so and so date. Okay, now let's see if the execution, okay, execution started. We will see I've kept it off. Okay, where I have kept it off, in the UiPath Assistant I have kept it off, but because I'm running it from the studio, it will always take dominance of the the settings that we have made in the studio, not the UiPath Assistant. Remember this very important point. So because the studio has got trace and verbose, it is anyways going to send even though your UiPath Assistant is kept off. Okay, this is doesn't depend on this specific settings at all when you are running it from studio. So the execution completed. Okay, so last time was 11:43. Okay, now what I have done in the studio, I have disabled the log activities, right? So that means trace level information should go. Now if I refresh it, look at this, look at the timing. So what happened? 11:51. Okay, so what we have got this time, trace level information which has got started. And this concept is clear, right? Very good. Now let's focus on if I run it from UiPath Assistant. Okay, if I run it from UiPath Assistant, what happens? So let me close all this. Okay, now we are looking at, okay, so this doesn't depend, the when you're running it from this one, does not, this is important point, does not depend on UiPath Assistant settings for logs. Okay, is it clear? This doesn't depend on the UiPath logs. Is it clear? Okay, now let's look at UiPath Assistant. Now for UiPath Assistant, what you do, the same process which you have created, go to the design tab and hit on publish. Okay, hit on publish. Okay, this has come, so simply hit on publish. So what would happen? This package will be now get published to the tenant. Okay, so publish successfully. Let's go to the orchestrator. Let's go to the tenant, and in the tenant, if you see, go to the packages, because I have done it prior to this. So now you can see this has been uploaded here, view version, and you can see the latest one is 1.0.2, which is currently inactive. Okay, this is currently inactive. Okay, fine. For you, it will be by default only one. If you are doing it for the very first time, only one would be there. Okay, now from here, I should go to the folder where I will be running this process. Go to the process, and here it will tells you there is a new package which has come. So let me upgrade it, use latest, hit on confirm. Very simple. I mean, if you do it for the first time, simply, you have to create a process, hit on add process and create a process. Okay, add process, and then you have to select that specific package if you're doing it for the very first time. Okay, select the package and hit on next, and it will be done. Okay, because I have already done it, so that's how I am simply updating it. Okay, try this out. Okay, so our main agenda is, once this is there, I am going to run it, not from orchestrator. I am going to run it where? From the assistant. So what I will do in the assistant, what I have done, I have kept it off at the moment. Okay, let's see how this one is behaving. Kept it off. Okay, let's go to UiPath Assistant. What happened? Because I have made an update, it is saying awaiting to install. So you simply hit on this run. It will first install whatever the update has been made, and then it will run. Because I have kept it off and I'm running from UiPath Assistant, what would happen? The logs won't be captured over here. If you see, the last was what? It was run from studio, right, at 11:52. Okay, now it should run from UiPath Assistant. So based on the settings in the UiPath Assistant, accordingly it will take dominance. Okay. Job started processing. Let's wait. Okay, let's wait. Job started processing. Okay. Okay, hello world has come, and there is a assign activity that will get executed, and the process is complete. Let's go to UiPath Assistant. If I go to UiPath Assistant, now if I refresh, the last was 11:52. Okay, you see it, right? 11:52. Okay, so it is 11:52. Now let me refresh. Did it get any other value? It did not get any other value, right? See, because I have kept it off. Now what we will do, we will go back to the preferences once again and make some changes. Okay, so first what I will do, I am going to change it to, let's say, verbose. So trace and verbose we have understood, other things we will understand. Okay, so let's say I am going to keep it verbose. Okay, or let's first keep it trace. So if I keep it trace and simply close this, and now let's run it. Okay, let me keep it this side. Okay, so all these exercises, why I am showing, because your understanding is important. You have to understand everything properly before appearing for the exam. Okay, so the execution has got completed. What I have kept trace. Okay, now if I refresh, so this you can see, because I have kept trace. What was the last time? 11:52, right? Here 51. Yeah, so from here, so yeah, 57. So from here, if you can see, the trace level information has been captured because I have set it to trace. Let's do one thing. Let's go and preferences, orchestrator setting. This time I'll put verbose. Verbose means activity level information also will come apart from execution start and end. Even the activity level information will come. So verbose, done. Now let's run it. So last was 11:57. Okay, keep on remembering the time. 11:57, and this time verbose. That means I should find more number of, done. Now let's refresh it up. So you can see 11:58. So if you see, scroll down, and if I scroll down, see from where it has started. Execution started. You can see execution started, automated with Rakesh, sequence executing, all this verbose level information is coming. So how the logs will be captured will be dominated by the settings from the UiPath Assistant when you are running it from UiPath Assistant. When the how the logs will be captured will be dominated when you are running from Studio, from the UiPath Studio options. Getting it? So Studio, if you are running, this options will be dominated. If you are running it from the UiPath Assistant, then the UiPath Assistant preference domination, options will be dominated. How you have selected, accordingly it will work. So any image given to you in the exam, right? So this is how it is. Then if that means you are running it from UiPath Assistant, then the answer would be based on this. If you are running it from the Studio, so read the words properly. If you are running it, let's say this image is given, but again they are saying you are running it from the Studio, okay, and the log level activity is enabled, then your UiPath Assistant will not take dominance. Your UiPath Studio settings will get dominance. Very important point. Okay, now there are also a couple of options. Okay, you should know. For example, let's say if I am going to set to critical, I am going to set it to critical, and what you do, experiment this log message. Okay, put a log message, and here I am setting the log label to critical or fatal. Okay, they should change the name to I mean both the places should be the same. So both are same actually, fatal or critical you can call it. So here I'm just putting a message, test critical log message. Okay, I'm just putting a message. So what would happen, I have added a new activity into this. So let's first publish it to the orchestrator. So now what you have got an activity here. Okay, what is that activity? Log message activity with a critical, with the log level is critical. So what would happen when I'm selecting critical? Let us first publish it. As it got published, let's go to tenant, click on packages and see the package. So 1.03 is there. Let's go to the process, the same thing what we have followed, right? Select it and update it. Okay, confirm. So now it has 1.3, and this 1.3 has got a log level with a critical. Now if I'm going to, because the moment you update the process, what would happen in your UiPath Assistant, you get something like this. Okay, so if you refresh it, it'll say awaiting install. That means there is some upgrade has happened in the process. So if you hit on run, it will automatically install the upgrade activities and it will run. So what would happen, this time our preferences has been kept to critical, and we have added an activity called critical. So what would happen, because I've set it to critical, it will only have this critical information. Okay, critical log. It will not have the execution start, execution end. So what is that? I'm going to talk about it. Hello world has come. Okay, so execution has completed. Let's go to the logs. So what happened? Execution ended. This was the last time, right? 11:58. So now it's 12:1. So 12:1, if you see, only the test critical log message, only that specific activity got logged. Very good. So now you got confused. So, Rakesh, what happened? Execution start. What happened to execution end? What happened to all that? Okay. Now for this, very simple, pretty simple one. Let me help you with. This is very important. What I'm going to talk now, and you must make a note. So what is happening? So now we are focusing on UiPath Assistant. Okay. Let me delete everything else. So UiPath Assistant. So this will be dominated as per the settings of UiPath Assistant. Okay. Is it clear? Now there are how many settings? Let me write it here. First is verbose. Okay. So the top one, the very top one, you can either keep it off. That means you don't want to send any log that we have tested. Then actually the very important one is your critical. Okay, critical. After critical, what comes? For all this, all you do, you don't have to really recall. First you have a check here. Okay, so what are this? The first is critical. then comes error, then comes warning, then comes information, then comes trace, then comes verbose. So critical error warning, and you can also set it to off. So critical error warning information. Okay, so let's write it in a notepad. So write it down. Okay, this is very important. Critical, then errors. So first is critical. What is critical? What is error? And then next is information will be logged, and the third is of critical error information. What was that? Warning, critical error, and then warning, and then information. Okay, warning, information, then you have your trace, then you have your verbose. Is it clear? So how many total? Critical, we have got error, we have got warning, we have got information, we have got trace, and the final one will be verbose. So this is the order. Okay, this is the order. Now you need to understand there is a very important sentence here in the same logging and log labels. Scroll down. Remember this specific, where is that? Yeah, this one. Okay, this node is very important. So how it is working? Off, then critical, then error, then warning, then information, then trace, then verbose. So what is the meaning of all of it? Let me explain you in very simple words. Okay, so that's why I kept it in this order. So this, there will be a, let's say there is a question like this. Okay, what is the right order? So you should know off, critical, error, warning, information, trace, verbose. Before we understand this order, first thing we need to have a understanding of the meaning of those. Okay, the meaning is already written here. Off means it is not going to send. Critical means what? All messages logged with a critical level or higher, all messages logged with a critical level or higher. Now the better definition is also available on your UiPath Academy. Let me show you. Make a note whatever you see it here. Fatal, with an example. The robot cannot or should not recover from this error. Fatal error, I mean it was not able to handle that, what you have really designed, it is not able to really do that. Something has gone critically wrong and the process needs to be stopped, it cannot really execute. Okay, for example, the robot has no means of handling an exception or the website it's interacting. So there is an exception, you are trying to type into a website, let's say, and there's an exception, it's not able to handle it, the website itself is not there. Okay, or it is it has gone outage, there is an outage. Okay, I mean the application is not opening, there is an outage. In such a case, or under maintenance, the better word is under maintenance, that time your process cannot execute. So what kind of error will be logged? Fatal. Okay, fatal error. So at that moment, if you have set your UiPath assistant to fatal or critical, so only those kind of information will be logged. Clear? First thing you understand this. Second point, error. When you set it to error, what would happen? An error occurred, the robot will attempt to recover and move on with the next item. Okay, so there is an error occurred, I mean let's say application exception, so you have put something right to handle that exception and it will move on to the next item. So that in those cases you would like to log something. So there was an error occurred while trying, like system application or application exception errors. Okay, so when you set it to error, what happens? It is going to let's say there are two different logs in your workflow. One is your log activity with a critical, the another active log activity with the error. So both of them will be captured. If you are setting it to warning, what would happen? Any important data that we need to stand out from the rest of the log information, then warning. Then info and trace. Information means information about the robot progress, usually includes when we enter or exit a workflow, when data is read from an external source. So now all of this require you to really read through this information, and for this one, because I feel if I keep on explaining it will become a very lengthy video. So what I wanted to tell you, actually I have experimented all this in a single video. Okay, and you must watch that. Let me type it here, log label UiPath. Okay, so I have created a video. Yeah, so if you see this trace and above. Okay, so this is the video. What is the meaning of trace and above? What is the meaning of info and above? What is the meaning of critical and above? Okay, so all this I have actually spoken in this set of videos. This is a 47 minutes video, so I have experimented everything. I would highly recommend you, at least for one time, you should read that, because I don't want to explain the same thing here. I'm making it very lengthy. So it will be 47 minutes video. Just watch this, how the log label works. When you set it with examples I have shown, how it get updated to orchestrator and all of that. So with this, I would like to end it here. So you have got an understanding how your orchestrated logs are dominated with the kind of settings you make and from where you are running. First is from where you are running. If you are running from studio, the studio settings will be dominated. According to that only, it will capture the logs. If you are running it from UiPath Assistant, then the UiPath Assistant settings will be dominated. Don't confuse yourself. I have kept it off. Still, why the logs are going if I am running from studio? So remember, if you are keeping it off and if you are running it only from UiPath Assistant, this settings will be dominated. Okay, this is why I have created the video, just to give you a clarity. And however, I would definitely tell you and recommend you to go through this entire video, 47 minutes video, UiPath logs, UiPath log labels, check logs. So how all these things work, I have defined here, and also there are a couple of other videos. UiPath orchestral logs, how to check orchestral logs. So all this, just go through it quickly. Okay, so thank you guys for watching it. Let's move on to our next topic. If I run it from UiPath orchestrator in an unattended way, okay, if I'm running it from my orchestrator, that means if I run it from the process from the orchestrator, what happens is something I'm going to talk. Okay, what kind of settings are dominated when you are using or running a process from orchestrator. So let's see that in the next video, guys.